Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're back at Historic Auto Attractions in Northern Illinois, and there's a couple things that I want to show you that I may not have shown you before, but today we're going to look at some Hollywood items, some props, and some Elvis Presley memorabilia, Marilyn Monroe, just some interesting Hollywood memorabilia. So let's go take a look. There's Dorothy Malone's dress from Law and Order, worn when she was surprising Ronald Reagan. There's a picture of old Ron right there. Ronald Reagan, obviously an actor before he was president and the man that we know today. It's pretty neat. Now this is still one of my favorite things. This is a prop passenger train, coach, car, and caboose. Now back in the day, in the 30s, 40s, when they were making films, they weren't actually shooting on a train. This is what they would have been using. Just a model train, and in the shot it would have looked a lot like a real train. You know, obviously this has aged quite a bit, but MGM and all those other studios back in the day, if you were watching a train scene, you were probably watching one of these. And then just over here is probably one of my favorite things here. This is Gary Cooper's original headstone. Now, he was originally buried in Holy Cross Cemetery in Culver City, California, which we've been to on this channel. And he was laid to rest there, and I believe it was about 13 years later, his remains were exhumed and he was moved at the request of his widow to New York. But this is his original headstone from Culver City, California, and it's now on display here at Historic Auto Attractions. Just in case you've never seen the back end of one of these, I'll do what I can. Gary Cooper's original headstone. And we can't talk about Hollywood without talking about John Wayne. Now this is John Wayne's toga saddle right here. It said it was made in 1941 for John Wayne by the Bentley and Gafford Saddle Company. John Wayne's hats. And if you haven't seen quite enough, here is John Wayne's shoehorn. Now in the middle of this you can see it is engraved with Duke. And here is John Wayne's personal engraved decorative cigarette case. Now this place goes on and on and on, and if you haven't seen some of my previous videos, you know, they're worth going back and listening to and watching, because there is so much in this museum that I've covered in previous videos, but this one I'm sticking mostly to the Hollywood items. Here's a signature of the legendary James Dean. Oh, here's a handful of items from James Dean. Now some of these right here, these two wax figures came to this museum from the James Dean Museum, and I believe that was the one in his hometown of Fairmount, Indiana. But they also have a James Dean life mask. And here is a pretty well-known picture of James Dean, these couple of pictures here, but this is the actual shirt right here that he's wearing in those photos. And there's another shot, but James Dean's shirt. And it's pretty sad what happened to him. It was 1955 and he had just gotten a Porsche Speedster, and a guy by the name of Donald Turnipseed pulled out in front of him and he just couldn't slow down in time. But very tragic. I mean, he was on his way to becoming one of Hollywood's biggest stars. And right here is one of the few remaining pieces of James Dean's spider. That is pretty neat. Now if you want to read how it came to be in this museum, feel free to pause this and read it. Looks Looks like somebody snuck into the garage to have a look at the car and kept that fragment of the fender. And nobody knows where that car is to this day. This is kind of crazy too, if you want to pause this and read it. The James Dean curse. Several different things that happened in relation to the car and people that had anything to do with the car after the fact. And this here is a 1925 Ford Model T that was used in the Laurel and Hardy comedy short Big Business. Now this car is amazing. The basic factory cost, it says on this, was $281. But in the picture right back there, you can see Laurel and Hardy in this car. Just an incredible piece of film history right here. But just so you can see this, basic factory cost $281. Other options were starter for $25 or a truck bed for $55. 33,795 were produced in 1925. And over here, if you've seen Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, this was from Jane Russell, used in the movie. And these right here are some shirts that were used and worn by Buddy Holly. He had some style to him. And this was also Buddy Holly's right here. Obviously not the dress, we'll get to that next, but this sweater. And then they have Buddy Holly's motorcycle license plate receipt in here. Let's see if you can see that. And then Buddy Holly's glasses with his initials BH on inside the stem. Let's see if you can see that from this. And then here's some lyrics written by the Big Bopper. Now up above the Marilyn Monroe display is one of the coolest things, I think, and it's easy to miss in here, but this was her love seat from her LA home, the Brentwood home that she actually passed away in. That was her love seat. And just down here is one of the single seats from that home. Marilyn Monroe's. And they also have a dress here with a receipt from the Western Costume Company, a made-to-order dress. Zoom in there for you so you can see it. The balance due on this dress was $1,140.33. And then here is a pair of her sunglasses. And her cigarette case with matching lighter. And just over here is another dress. Now just on the other side of these items is Elvis Presley memorabilia. Now they have some pretty cool Elvis stuff, starting with this statue. But over here, this was Elvis Presley's personal 1972 Lincoln Mark IV. This was one of his personal vehicles. Now, Elvis gave away a lot of cars over the course of his career and his lifetime. Now, Elvis was known to be a Cadillac man, but he did own quite a few different cars. Here's a picture of him driving this particular one. It says it was Elvis's practice to rarely register his vehicles in his personal name, but this car was different. A highly documented car, he bought this one for himself. That is pretty cool. The King's Throne. Now here's the bill of sale for that car. Sold to Elvis Presley, 3764 Elvis Presley Boulevard, Memphis, Tennessee. It's kind of interesting that the road was named after him before he actually passed away. But the car cost just under $10,000. And here's some of the added luxuries for the car and the prices that go along with it. And in here we have Elvis memorabilia. This was a shirt that was worn by Elvis. And the shirt back here in the corner too. This was also used by him in the movie Wild in the Country. And then they have quite a few other jumpsuits. Now these are tribute jumpsuits. These are not jumpsuits that were actually owned or used by Elvis. But they still look pretty cool. A lot of those jumpsuits are owned by Graceland. But they do have 3 of Linda Thompson's outfits. The girlfriend of Elvis Presley. Hey, she was tiny, wasn't she? Quite a few Elvis relics here. And this right here is titled Elvis, The Sound of History. It was done by a Nashville artist named Wayne Brazinka. That is something else. Here's Elvis's room charges from Las Vegas, the New Frontier Hotel in 1956. It's amazing how little it feels like things were costed back then. This one right here was for, I see DJ Fontana's name on there. That was Elvis's drummer. Scotty Moore, and Elvis's guitarist. Here's a room key for the Las Vegas Hilton, where Elvis played probably more than anywhere else. Here's a room list with the numbers, EP for Elvis, obviously, and there's a list of other people that and their room numbers for other folks that traveled with Elvis. Dr. Nick, Larry Geller was Elvis's hairdresser, and the Memphis Mafia. There's Colonel Parker's office. There's Colonel Tom Parker's string tie. I don't want to say that he made these fashionable, but he definitely did use them. And here's a discarded cigar butt from Elvis. It was signed by Ginger Alden. Now that's just a handful of the many, many relics they have here related to Hollywood, Elvis, musicians like Buddy Holly, all that. But this is an incredible place. If you haven't seen the other videos, by all means, it's well worth it to check them out. But once again, this is Historic Auto Attractions Museum in Roscoe, Illinois, and I highly recommend a visit if you ever get the chance. But that's all there is for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next video. Take care, everybody.